10 years we've been on this game.
Wow.
So this is just a video where we talk about some of our favourite moments.
Alright, so let's start with Little Planet 1, which came out in 2008. Didn't have good logic, didn't have much things you could do, but with the limited things we had, there was some really good creators who just set the standards and just turned the game into what would you say it got turned into?
It got turned into, like, just picture it as an art piece. It's a canvas with some gorgeous creations on it. Simple but gorgeous. They're not capable of doing much, but when you admire it, it truly is something special. The introduction of Little Big Planet 2 and the trailer was amazing, with, like, the announcement of the Sackbots and the Controlinator, I think was what was most hyped after. And when it came out, everyone felt the same way, you know. The community immediately got to work and made some amazing creations, like Free Dinosaurs 8.
Or Triple Shot.
Oh gosh. But it was around 2012, I think, the community really started to fall apart. This was only a year after the game's release too. New players came to the community and took advantage of the new logics and the bugs that the game used to have, like the God glitch and that. And it just kind of eventually fell apart, and the player base has really died down since.
LVP3. This was supposed to be like an amazing sequel to Little Planet 2, and it looked from the trailer. The only issue is they released an unfinished game full of glitches. Upon launch, you would corrupt in the first few minutes of playing. And even after all these years, you still corrupt easily.
The first time I ever played Little Big Planet 3, we had just gotten it. It was sometime in December of 2014, and it was around midnight. And it took, first of all, it took an hour for the game to load. When the game finally loaded and we got in, the whole story and prologue was, I quite liked it, but eventually when you start playing through the story, it's just really
boring.
Little Big Planet 1 and 2 really pulled off the awesome feels. Like, LVP 1 felt like it was in sort of maybe the 60s or something like that, around war era. Little Big Planet 2 felt like 70s and 80s, just because of the arcade feel of it. But Little Big Planet 3, you can't even tell what decade. It's just,
I guess, too bright and too happy.
So, Jenna, unfortunately, since she can't be here right now, I'll have to do the talking for her. I met Jenna around 6 or 7 years ago on Little Big Planet 2. We were just randomly diving in and joined a random player, and Jenna happened to be in the game. This was back when Jenna used an old account, so also back when I used an old account. But we just talked for a bit, and I'm not sure what happened, but we eventually bonded over that and became close friends. And she was always this bright, bubbly ball of excitement, like, and I couldn't really visualize her being anything else. And eventually I met you through, well, I've known you for a while actually. I always remember like looking at your profile and thinking, I wish I could create like that, but when I was really little. And one day you just messaged me after looking at my killer whales and said that I like your orcas, and we added each other and eventually got in a party, and it started out slow, but we eventually became friends. And I think it was our disliking for the community that really got us close.
Yeah. The reason I started creating is because when I was younger I was really obsessed with insects, and I played a level seeing that other people had made insects in Little Big Planet, so I wanted to try it for myself. And back then I always had insect books I would use to create things, and I remember the first insect I made was a cicada, but it didn't really look like a cicada. It looked like a bug, it just didn't look like a bug that existed. But back then I thought it was really good. So I branched off from them and I created a bunch of other bugs, like a pond skater and ants, spiders, all that. Then I found this logic thing a friend gave me, and I tweaked it a little bit to make it fly instead of swim, because it was a swimming check. And so I started to make top-down insects, and they were, I guess, the main reason I continued playing the game, because I had so much fun making them and all the things they could do.
And then, like, you eventually moved on to making dinosaurs, which you had all those free dinosaurs levels. Again, I always remember playing on those and thinking, wow, I wish I could create. And I always used your top-down Spinosaurus, and I even made an RPG with it.
I remember that Spinosaurus. I actually had many of those top-down dinosaurs. I remember there was a trike, a Stegosaurus, a raptor, which didn't look very raptor-y, but eh. And there was even a Rex.
Why I started creating was because I used to join these wicked creators that were making like kaiju and dinosaurs, and I was really like, I always wanted to do something like that. And I watched how one of them made their creations, like I watched how they attached the bolts to the leg specifically, I watched how they shaped it, how they would get a picture of it, like, from the side and shape it. And I thought, that doesn't look too hard, I can give it a try. And I tried it, and sure enough, I actually created my first decent-ish creation, not counting my stingray from a few years ago.
Stingray was amazing.
How dare you? So I kept creating creatures until I got better and better and better, and then one Christmas came along where I decided to make a bunch of gifts for Jenna and another friend at the time. And in total I made 31 items over a period of 4 months. For a long time I really despised of the creations, but recently I have started to take a liking to them because I realise now that they are the first creations with my specific style on, and they are what built my style to what it is today. So yeah, I have a few funny moments.
Aim for the arm. Wrong place. Oh wait, what? Oh. No. My child's Ted Bundy. No, not Ted Bundy. No, yes.
Sit down. Oh my No. I think one of my favourite things that I always used to do was just when I played on your insect levels, I would get your snail, and how it had the little wheels on the bottom that made it move, I would just speed them up to max and watch it go, and it would slam into the wall and its eyes would fall off.
One of my favourite creators, still is now, is Robo-Killer. I remember back in the early days of Little Planet 2, his mechs were like the best things in the entire game. Not to say they're bad, they're already amazing, but like his new mechs are just, you know, they're just so good the game doesn't even allow them.
Some of my favourite creators, I'll display them on screen, but some of my favourite creators are Alina99, who has since left and deleted all of her levels. She made some really, like, back in the day, they were really awesome cetaceans. Like, she also did a couple sharks and dragons. And she made 2 different killer whales. She made a beluga, she made a narwhal, she made a bottlenose dolphin, blue whale. I think out of the creations I've done so far and had help on and collaborated on, I think those would be the Indoraptors, obviously, all of the Swos variants, Dinotech dinosaurs I made back in 2015 for Christmas, also my controllable Tillicum.
I ended up making a glass tank with triops that had 5 stages of growth, and every time they grew, an exoskeleton would fall to the bottom. Once you put the egg in, it would take a minute or 2 for them to hatch, and then they'll be really small and grow and grow and grow until they finally die. The Jurassic Park dinos, I'm really proud of them and how they turned out. The new lizard I made, I really like that. That's one of my favourites. The Indominus, obviously, but that one, the Indominus wasn't perfect for at least, like, most of the time I've been making it. I only recently perfected it with juice.
Yeah, and then we turned her into Mrs. Spicer, and she became more perfect.
Yeah.